Welcome to Cory's Conscious Living. Are you ready to meditate with Cory? Lay down and get quiet and still and peaceful. Amelia couldn't fall to sleep. She'd been trying for hours and hours to fall to sleep. Her mind kept going round and round like a clock. All these different thoughts kept popping into her head, conversations in her mind, things that she would do tomorrow at school, things that had happened last week, what she was going to do next, on and on and on. She thought maybe if she made lists. She sat up in bed and she wrote a list of all the things that she was thinking of, and then she laid back down and still her mind wouldn't be quiet. She was super tired, it was getting really late, and she needed to get up tomorrow and be happy and bouncy and full of energy for all the things that she had to do. She was getting very upset with herself and very distressed and wanted to go to sleep. One of her friends told her that sometimes it helps if you listen to stories, meditations, things like that to help you fall to sleep. Amelia remembered this and thought maybe she should give it a try. She searched on YouTube and looked down all the different meditations. So many of them. And then she saw one that was about a fairy, and fairies were one of her favorite things. They'd always been one of her favorite things since she was tiny. Amelia was now 7 years old. And she still liked fairies. So she stopped on that one and she read about the meditation story and realized that the fairy in the story was actually called Amelia too. She took it as a sign and decided that that was the one that she was going to listen to. She got comfy in bed and pressed play. Once upon a time, a long time ago, in a forest, deep away from all other civilization, a place where no people ever went. It was very deep into the hearts of lots of woodlands, and people just didn't go there. There wasn't any paths to get there. So it was a very dense, populated, full of animals kind of forest. The animals were all safe there. No one was being hunted, no one was being captured, no one was accidentally hurt. It was just a really good place for all of the animals to stay and live. It was a really good place for fairies. Apparently, Amelia was a famous fairy throughout the entire forest. She was famous because she had a very unusual special power. If any of the fairies or any of the animals couldn't sleep, they would go lay by Amelia. They would lay down, get comfortable. At first, they would lay there with their eyes open thinking, well, I wonder what Amelia's going to do. Is she going to tell me a story? Is she going to sing to me? What is it that Amelia is going to do? The funny thing was, Amelia never really did anything that they noticed so much. She just laid next to them, and before you know it, they couldn't keep their eyes open. Their eyes would get so heavy, no matter how hard they tried to keep their eyes open to see what Amelia was going to do. See, everyone knew about her in the forest. Everyone knew she could put you to sleep, but no one knew how. So when anyone had trouble sleeping, they would go see her, but then no one could ever talk about how she did it later because she was so good at making them fall to sleep. They would eventually close their eyes. It was impossible for them to keep them open. Just like you right now are probably feeling your eyes, realizing they feel heavy and sleepy, and how nice it would be to actually just close them for a minute. You don't have to keep them closed, but just close them and rest them and let them relax. Being next to Amelia made all of their face relax. All of the tension around their eyes would just melt away. Their ears would get sleepy, and all of the sounds around them would start to fade into the background, to the point where all they would hear was just this hum, like a humming sound, as if you could hear the sound of a hummingbird's wings. If you were right next to one, that's exactly what it would sound like. That's all they would hear. Everything else would just fade and disappear. The jaw would relax, and the neck and the shoulders would get heavy, and they would try and kind of move around and maybe fidget a little bit to fight Amelia's powers, but they couldn't help themselves. They just felt so warm and comfortable laid there next to her. It felt like home, like they were being hugged by a big, soft blanket. Their entire bodies would feel as if it was just floating on a cloud. They would get heavy, very, very heavy, and still, it was like they wouldn't want to move even if they could. They were drawn to Amelia like a magnet, connecting to her energy, connecting to how safe they felt laying next to her, how warm they felt laying next to her, how peaceful they felt inside. It was like a magical power was just washing over them, sweeping them up and helping them to float weightlessly in her wonderful, warm, loving energy. Amelia was a very special fairy. She helped so many people sleep. Amelia, the little girl that couldn't sleep, was feeling like she was getting drawn in, pulled in to the waves of softness and comfortableness as she listened to the sleepy time meditation. Amelia closed her eyes a long time ago, and her body was already feeling like it was floating on air, floating like she was just as light as a feather. She felt relaxed. All the thoughts that were going on in her mind were fading, disappearing. She was just being pulled in to the magical powers of Amelia's sleeping trance, and it felt wonderful, peaceful. She was falling deeper and deeper. For a split second, she was thinking about cherry pie. And then the next time, she was thinking about rainbows. And then the next time, she was seeing the most perfect fairy in her mind. Her skin was soft and pale like ivory, just like white snowflakes. And her tiny little cheeks were peachy, like the skin of a peach, with tiny flushes of color. Her nose must have been so small and cute and round. And she had an upside down flower on her head that was white, and the green part pointed into a bell shape. Her ears were spiky and pointed, and she had tiny little ringlets of blonde hair all around her face. She was wearing a pink rose petal on the front and a pink rose petal on the back, and it was tied around the middle with a tiny piece of daisy chain. Her legs were small, her hands were small, her arms were small. She was so delicate. And as Amelia looked at Amelia, the fairy, she found herself slipping deeper and deeper into rest, feeling like she'd found a best friend. She felt like she belonged in the forest, in the middle of nowhere, laying next to Amelia the fairy, being enchanted by her magical powers, her magical potion of sleep. Then she slept. She slept for the longest time, had the most deepest, sweetest sleep she'd had in the longest time. Just let yourself sleep. Let yourself be taken over by the magical powers of Amelia the fairy. Sleep, my little friend.